Rob, have you seen the price of lasagna? I went to the Supercenter for $40 for like, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like you can get the anyway. It's just insanity to me.
Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Championship Weekend. Best bets, gold, silver, bronze. It's all here for you. Run thesims.com/Mayo to get yourself the prop sniper. If you're in the business of betting props, you might as well see which ones rate out the best at whatever sportsbook that you want to go to. Or if you're just into golf betting or golf daily fantasy, which I, am very much into, fantasynational.com/Mayo. 20% off with /Mayo. And it's completely revamped, redesigned, new tools. And I've won 2 GPPs in the last 3 weeks on DraftKings, so it's working for me. Yeah. It can work for you as well. Cam and Rob are on the line, but because Jim Harbaugh is now the official head coach or CEO of PF Chang's, I'm not really quite sure of what's going on here. Geoff Fienberg is on with us to gloat, I guess. You have a new dad, and he's like a real dad now. He's not like that guy after your mom gets divorced, the first guy she dates. He's a little bit younger, kind of a stooge, to quote Cam Stewart. Now, this is like a real man you got on the go here, Geoff.
Yeah, and he's also a psychopath, and he's a psychopath about winning and get out of his way. And that is just sort of what he's proven to do. When opening day in September comes around next year, he will be the winningest active NFL coach with over 50 games under his belt. So the Chargers, maybe they needed it, but more importantly, you could look at it from a market standpoint. They had to buy some credibility. That they're irrelevant. So here it is. Let's go. It's an exciting time. From Brandon Staley to Jim Harbaugh to, God willing, if they, God willing, win a Super Bowl, I want the opening chapter of that DVD to be that Thursday night in Oakland. I want the opening chapter of the DVD to be the Thursday night in Oakland. Because they just hired an interim linebacker and made a GM a guy who hadn't won a division in a decade and hasn't given a 2nd to 6th round pick an extension in like 4 years.
DVD. Sound like me.
Yeah, DVD.
Like CD. I have a CD collection in milk crates, Jeff. But
I still have my 1992-93 Blue Jays VHSs, Cammy boy.
I do too. I don't tell people I got like SCTVs on VHSs. I have old Seattle Seahawk games with Stan Gelbach, Kelly Stouffer, Warren Moon on VHSs. Anyway, the stooge that you're talking about was the guy, wasn't it Tom Sulu, the guy who ran into basically with some plastic roses and a K-Way coat when he was hired? The guy I'm talking about, Jim Tom Sulu. I love that guy. He was the stooge guy after your mom breaks up with your real father. That's the guy.
Rob, so between DVDs and Oakland, what year do you think that Geoff Fienberg is living in?
Well, it's going to be the same year as always, because if you think the preseason hype train has been big in the past for the Chargers, wait till we go into next season where everyone's going to be talking about how the Chargers are going to knock off the Chiefs now all of a sudden because they have Harbaugh, completely forgetting that Mahomes is on the other side of things. I love you, Geoff. I hope the best for your organization. I think candidly that you're just doomed for failure, regardless of who the coach is, because you do have Patty Mahomes within the division. I do wish you the best.
No. He's got a 5-year plan, though, Rob. It's not like if you think the Chargers are going to be better next year, you go.
Hold on, because I got to combat that number one. Yeah. I got to combat that number one, which is right. Pat Mahomes is in the division, but Rob seems to forget that 4 years ago, the NFL did this thing where they put in a 7th playoff spot. Look who competed for that playoff spot this year. Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns with 4 quarterbacks. There will be a spot you get in the tournament. It's almost like the Bills and Josh Allen. Are they better than Mahomes? No. But if you can just get in that tournament 9 years in a row or something, God willing, it's like a golfer. It's like, I think Tony Finau can win a big tournament. One of these years, he just keeps sticking around the leaderboard. He has 4 good rounds. You're right, Rob. You're talking about the dream of a championship, of course. But the Chargers needed more than that. They didn't have a choice. In a perfect world, would I love for them to have hired a first-time head coach and try to take a swing and hire another whiz kid who could be there in a decade? Yes. But the Chargers weren't in that position anymore. They almost were backed into, I'll say maybe it's like the same corner the Jets were with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
After so much, they were literally left with no choice, that they now had to pay and surrender themselves to some level of significant credibility. And God willing, I hope it works better. But yeah, the guy's improved. He's won every step. And Patrick Mahomes is there. But you look at how you can get in that tournament. Even with Patrick Mahomes, there's still spots in that tournament. There's still spots in that tournament.
Well, if
You're doing it already, Jeff.
Yeah,
you're already getting hyped before the season even starts.
I love this guy. The
No,
guy's
I don't think
guy's
we're
married
ready.
with children.
Jim,
and
we'll
still
never win a
absolutely
Super Bowl,
pumped.
but it's just credibility. But Rob's right. The market will overinflate them. You had to pay a tax on betting on Sean Payton this year with a horrible Bronco team. Of course, you're going to have to pay a quarterback coach tax. And every week you want to bet the Chargers, Rob. How do squares love to bet football? I don't really know who I like, but that team's got the coach I know, the coach I trust, and the quarterback who I think is good. That's how you almost blindly bet the NFL. So sure, they'll be overvalued, but this is just a level of credibility. This is like the Chargers have been a heroin addict, okay? And now we finally got our shit together. And not only did we get a job, but we got a promotion.
And you brought the Tropicana factory. You know what you get when you get off heroin? You need sugar and orange juce. Like
Well,
the Law
now
and
it's
Order
whole
episodes.
milk.
Yeah.
Now it's whole milk.
Now it's whole milk. You're right. And, and organic chickens. I will say this. Here's the deal with Harbaugh. You know this, Jeff. Attention to detail, defense, little things. Like, obviously, it's a 5-year plan, right? But the one thing I know about Harbaugh teams, they're well coached. They're prepared. No little thing is going to fly under the radar. Like, you know what I'm saying, Rob? He's going to clean up the bullshit and the sloppiness. Like, obviously they have bad contracts. We know Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Like, these are things that the Chargers are going to have to deal with. They're in a very tough division. I agree. But I will say this. I think over, 3 years, 4 years, maybe, I think this team is going to be a special one. But they got to clean up that stuff and hopefully get rid of some bad contracts. But I'm happy for you, Jeff. You've gone through enough bullshit with this team, and I hope you get a Super Bowl.
Rob.
Also, the perception that we're losers and we're cheap and we're still losers, but at least that can die a little. They're paying a coach, and you know what the holdup was? Do you know what the holdup? Do you know why I maximized screen time on my phone over the last 48 hours before that signing?
What was the holdup?
Because it wasn't just about paying Harbaugh, Cam. It was about paying like his team and the staff and his like conditioning. And it's like not being cheap about all the things around the edges that the Chargers have historically cut corners on. That was the holdup, like ensuring that we're going to pay big money for Jesse Minter to bring it along. We're going to bring this guy that's apparently the best strength conditioning dude in college football, hopefully over. So there's a lot of things, but Rob's not wrong. Like, you could throw cold water on this from a winning the Super Bowl or a betting market, but that's for the fall. That's for the spring when there's numbers. That's for the spring when there's numbers. Okay. Today it's about the lettuce wraps.
So, Rob, here's what I wanted to throw out. And this was a conversation that I was having with my buddies last night after this. Well, first of all, Cuss said this is a guaranteed Super Bowl appearance, which is within the next 3 years.
This guy's just too much, man. Like, tell him, like, enough. Like, have you tortured Jeff enough? And one thing before you get to Rob, do you win cash prizes or food if you are voted most insane person? Like, what do you get for it? Do you get a trophy, or like, do you get money? That's all I need to know, Pat. Like, what happens with this contest between Jeff and
are you trying to angle to get yourself on the ballot if there's a cash prize?
I'm not insane. Those guys are more insane than me.
Yeah, but it seems like if there was like some sort of prize to be won, you could turn a switch to be insane to get that prize. That's what we're getting at.
Well, Pat already gives me a freezer full of meat every Christmas, which I adore. But no, I just want to know, like, what's the deal of being most insane? Like, any type of contest, you win something. What the fuck's the point of a contest if you don't get a prize?
Well, you have to wear you have to wear the scarlet letter of being the most insane person. They're trying not to win. It's not a competition of who can be the most insane. No one wants to win.
It's like a Razzie Award, Cam. It's like the Razzies.
I get it. I try to be most insane. I'd try to win the contest. But anyway, ask the questions for Pizzola, Rob. I got to turn down the TV. This murder mystery is too loud, and I've seen it already. Another repeat of Dateline. So You talk to Rob, and I'll be back.
Okay, Rob, here's the thing that I wanted to point out with Harbaugh, the point I wanted to hammer down on. I think it's a great signing, and I think it's going to be great for 3 years. But if we've seen a trend with Harbaugh, and I know that he lasted at Michigan for almost a decade, but it didn't seem, I mean, look how it ended. They're probably going to have to vacate a national championship. Not that I care about that. They still won it. That's what people will remember going forward. The only people who... I'm going to jot that down. We'll get back to that one. Here's the point that I wanted to make. He burns people out. And in college, you can get away with that. And it's probably less likely now with the NIL stuff, but you constantly have turnover in college. You're dealing with kids in college. They have to listen to you. What did we see at the end of the 49ers reign? These guys did not want to fucking play for this guy whatsoever. So any sort of like 5-year plan with Harbaugh, I would call it a 3. You're going to get 3 really good years, and he's going to do all the things that you said. He's a taskmaster. He's going to clean up all the shitty mistakes. He's going to make you, I don't want to say a flawless football team, but one that doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, which has really been the Chargers' biggest problem. That and injuries and terrible cap situations. But all of that, all those little things Harbaugh does well. But by year 4, he's just going to grate these guys to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Listen, I don't think Harbaugh is like a as clear-cut, a great hire as I think a lot of people are making it out to be. Like the last time he coached in the NFL was almost, I mean, what was it? 2013, 2014, Jeff, that he left the 49ers, somewhere in that range, right? So we're looking at a decade where he's been out of the league. A lot of his success at the college level is due to recruiting. I'm not saying he's not a good coach, by the way. There is like definitely a culture there that goes with his teams, but it's a different story with a lot of these coaches that jump back into the NFL. Small sample size for sure with the Sabins and the Urban Meyers and
Carroll.
The Matt Rules and Pete Carroll, I guess, is an example of one that worked out.
Hey, Pete Carroll did like you get.
No, that's a good.
As a cheerleader.
No, we're saying a good. We're saying opposite.
I'm saying that, but he was also what he coached twice in the NFL, went to USC, which was essentially. I mean, they were doing the NIL before NIL was a thing, and then he came back. But I would say that Pete Carroll's personality versus all of the other guys that you mentioned isn't like diametric opposite. Like Harbaugh's just gonna sit there and yell at you the entire time. Saban kind of seems the same way. Pete Carroll's
the key is
right,
finding that balance. Yeah, well, the key, like look at Dan Campbell, right? Dan Campbell is a hard ass, but also a player's coach, right? There's a way to balance the two that makes it work out. I'm always worried about the guys that go extreme one way or another because you do have to have the players that fit that mold and that are going to buy into that. The Chargers have been this soft organization for a while.
Yeah, actually, you go, Jeff. But I have something. I just want to say.
I just, and this was the team that sort of dethroned or had to step into a division that was being dominated by Cam's Seahawks, those 49er teams. But my memory, and if you guys can cite me or people want to throw it at me, correct me. But I have no memory of players in San Francisco shit talking Harbaugh, and on his way out being like, that guy was too hard on me. It's better he's gone. That was strictly him wearing out people. It is not the players. It is the people in the hallways that sort of try and run the football team. It's everybody from the nutritionist to the owner's son. Like, he wears out people, but it was about Balky and Jed York in San Francisco. I never heard anything about players not wanting to be part of a Harbaugh program, but I don't doubt that he wore on everybody he runs into.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that I think this is more of a short term, let's see if we can get this ship righted. Let's see if we can win with Herbert, build a team. And I don't think you're going to see him there in 5 years.
I mean, what's going to happen when he limits Justin Herbert's social media time every single day?
Justin Herbert doesn't even have an account, Al. He shows up with sweatpants and a hoodie. He doesn't put a thought into what he's wearing in front of any press conference camera. And on that note, boys, for the deep cuts, Pat, I think I'm getting my Mondays now. I think I'm getting my Monday day after game coaches pressers on video from the Chargers, which they wouldn't give me in the past. I don't think you pay a coach that much money, not give me his face on a Monday after a game.
The hiring of Harbaugh is getting you back on the mailing list. No,
it says beef I have with Charger Social, Cam. We don't. Yeah. It's one of the reasons that that I'm battling Tim, I guess. But I am a psychopath.
You think they want to put these guys out on social that they know that are complete idiots? Anthony Lynn, Brandon Staley. Jeff's right. Now they get Harbaugh on a Monday, a bunch of clips and stuff like that. He has a great day. It's kind of like a win-win for everyone.
I'm going to say this too, Pizzola and Pat, just to defend Pat's point. Remember, Tom Coughlin was the biggest hard ass in the world, and he learned one day. He goes, you know what? I can't do this shit anymore. I gotta kind of adapt. I can still be a hard ass, but I'm gonna take these guys bowling and stuff. Know what they did? They won the fucking Super Bowl as 14-point dogs against the Patriots. People can adapt. And Harbaugh, he played the game. Players respect him for playing the game, and that's all he needs. All he is, you know what? Once in a while, you will learn how to bend a little bit, but Geoff brings up the best point. He's just so meticulous and his attention to detail. It's everybody in the organization. But the players will respect a guy that has won a national championship with the Michigan Wolverines and played in the fucking league and played it hard, right? So I think you can adapt as a person, and I think he's still going to be a hard ass, but I also think he understands the NFL is different than the collegiate game.
The Chargers are also opening a brand new $250 million training practice facility, which they never really had in LA, as part of an issue over the last few years. And Harbaugh's not even going to want his fancy new palatial meeting rooms or office. He just wants to drop plays in the dirt. And that's okay. And I know the fantasy guys are going to be like, oh, I don't know, Harbaugh is going to... We just need a win. The Chargers need credibility, and they need a win. And everything after that is something that just has to come with the territory, I guess. But we can shit on it. We can shit on it when there's odds, and you can laugh. And I'd argue even 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. It's way too low. They should be 40-1. So Rob's not wrong. From a betting market, you can probably continue to pick on this team. But maybe if they stop charging, and anyone watching knows what I mean, then it worked out. Yep. It worked out. We got to get the charging out of the Chargers. And it was worth every penny. And will they lose to Mahomes or Allen or Lamar in a big moment? Highly probable. But that is what it is. We'll deal with that road in a playoff game.
We need Mahomes' girlfriend to go off the grid and go absolutely nutty and do something in bed to him. You know what I mean? Just do something. We need this guy out of here. I'm so sick and tired of this team and their bullshit and everything about the Kansas City Chiefs, to be honest. I'm sorry, Chief fan. I'm just sick of your. It disgusts me. Every time. Listen, the refs did nothing in that game, but there was one key play in that game too, where there was no penalty on the play, as you guys know. You're allowed to touch the guy before the ball's in the air. It changed the whole. The referees. There's no call. Then they
got off the field though. Cam, yeah. You're complaining about an irrelevant play because the Bills still forced a punt, and the Chiefs played a flawless game other than punting, fumbling at the 2.
You're right.
People who love the 3 of you are probably mad I'm still here, so I should probably leave.
No, you're not going anywhere.
And let you guys do your show.
No. I'm just a bitch, Geoff. I'm just a bitch.
But Pat, I don't mean to hijack.
No, you're right. You're right. No, you didn't hijack shit. I wish you were on every day.
No, I want to ask you a question, Cam, and then I gotta leave. I don't gotta leave. I want you guys to do your show that people like because they don't want me a part of it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Have you seen the Fontainebleau Nacho incident?
I have.
Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau. Is that that hummus that's really good?
No, it's the new casino in Vegas, and they're serving up some horrible nachos at very expensive prices.
Oh, with the fake cheese instead of the cheddar.
It was a plate with six chips on it. Okay. I don't know.
No, you got to send it to me because I've always had a problem with that. You know what I mean? People like that Velveeta shit. When I see that commercial for Velveeta and they're pouring that liquid yellow shit all over the craft dinner, and I almost I start gagging in my mouth. I want cheddar. I that fake cheese shit. That's something, you know me. I'd actually prefer Cheese Whiz because it's a little harder and it has more consistency than, you know what I'm talking about, Rob. You know that one?
Yep.
Velveeta. Liquid gold. It's just, I'm
it's liquid diarrhea right there.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, if I wanted an enema or fucking colonoscopy, that seems to be the recipe. But anyway, whatever. Geoff, I'm sorry I said that. I'm just so mad at the city of Buffalo because I support their economy and I really want them to do well. And I fucking had the Kings in a huge parlay for a dime last night and the Sabres won. So everybody in Buffalo fucks me all the time. And maybe I should blame Buffalo, not the Chiefs. I'm just so sick of that team. But anyway, I apologize.
I love Buffalo. I love Buffalo too.
They treat me well there.
I think something happened with the nachos. It seems like the internet has bullied them into changing whatever the nachos were.
Well, if you're giving somebody 6 fucking nachos on a plate,
if you saw the picture,
it seems pretty
They
obvious.
should be bullied. It's a joke. By the way, nachos, like generally ordering nachos out as well. I'm not a big fan of that. Making nachos at home, you can layer it very nicely. You put the right amount of cheese, different toppings. Whenever you get nachos out, they tend to be a very big disappointment. They don't layer them well. I don't like getting nachos out.
Me and my girlfriend, Rob, we went to Kelsey's for nachos. You take those motherfuckers home, it's like a rainstorm with corn. No, there's no way to keep the consistency of the chip. But if you're at home, you layer them, you crisp them, and they reheat better. Like, that's the thing. It's like fast food. If I can do something better than you, we have to work on the way you're making the product. That's why you go to a restaurant. Bingo. I can't make a wing as good as you, so I fucking crush chicken wings. You get it? I get it. That's the deal.
Well said.
I love you, by the way. And Rob's right about everything. Like, the Italians get it. These guys know how to make a fucking lasagna that's heavier than a baby. And then, man, that thing. And then you go to another place, a munja cake place. It's like, where's the fucking cheese, man? What are you guys doing to me? Rob, have you seen the price of lasagna? I went to the Supercenter for $40 for I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you could get the anyway. It's just insanity to me. And do it at home like the Italians do. When
you order nachos out, it's more of I would say it's more of like a group activity. You just order like a giant thing. But if you're someone who tries to embrace the variance, there's probably there's 100 chips of nacho tortilla chips on a plate of nachos, and that's a pretty big plate of nachos, that you're gonna find 10 that are perfect with the cheese, with the toppings that you want, and then the other 90 are absolutely horrible. So I'm
true.
Yeah.
Not horrible,
let's just call it out for what it is. Nachos are when you have a menu, to me, everyone orders them. That's the last thing. I peruse the menu and go, because I know what nachos are going to do later. They have no second game. They have no overtime. They have nothing. They're there. They come out hot. You have a couple good chips, and at the end, I'll buy a fucking bag of tortilla chips. It's just a waste of time. That's my opinion.
Yep, we're in agreement.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff.
We all agree.
Yeah. A round of we prefer nachos to be layered. And are you in? My wife makes them every night, Rob, and she individually dresses each of her nachos. She makes 15 of them, and it takes her 20 minutes.
Okay, so that's what what it seemed like this Fountain Blue was trying to do, was these 6 very fancy nachos individually dressed very fancy, but it just looked like 6 plain nachos, essentially.
No.
I'm going to say this, Patrick. When I first met you, I was like, this guy's flossing 13 times in the middle of shows. I'm like, okay. He likes oral hygiene. Then I'm like, he's brushing his teeth and you're doing all this stuff. And then I look at your teeth and they're gorgeous. So all the things that you did that I'm like, wow, I wish I did now. When I'm looking in the morning, I got wine teeth and plaque. And I've not bad breath. I've been told you know what I mean? For a guy that likes to party. I'm just saying, Pat, you did a lot of those things that I really wish I did in my life. Your attention to detail and oral hygiene was a big mistake. I should have flossed a lot more.
Pat also gargles with the hard alcohol. I've seen it. I use the
you mean
flavor,
the
not
Listerine?
Kids flavors, but I'll use some spearmint or something. Pat's no, it's the straight may as well
Pat's
be clear liquid. Pat's
like the hobo in the alley. It's basically alcohol, but it's Listerine on steroids, right?
Hey,
it's
if you're gargling with Listerine and your mouth isn't burning afterwards, it's not working. It's not working for you.
Pat, I will say that's the gold selection right there.
Okay. Well, Jeff, do you have
hard-ass alcoholic mouthwash? Yeah, Jeff, you got something else?
Jeff, do you have any thoughts on Vic Fangio to the Eagles?
My only thought on that is the rumors of Brandon Staley going to Miami, and the script writers couldn't do me a bigger favor than the games in which Tua will play like an MVP, put up 31 points, he loses because someone else dropped a 35 on him. That's making me feel a little warm inside, but I don't hope that for the Dolphins. I don't hope Brandon Staley shows up anyway. Fangio's great, and I just want to leave on saying, when you guys see the Chargers draft 4th, 5th, 6th round Big Ten players, you know we just brought in a hoss. Cam knows from Pete Carroll. That guy came in there and dominated 2 straight drafts, and he wasn't drafting his own players. He just knew. He just knew where to find the hoss.
That's how we built our team, Jeff.
Book it.
That's how we built it with Cam Chancellor late, Russell Wilson, Fort Grant. Like everything they did in those drafts, like Seattle was unbelievable. Lockett, we got all these guys late. They weren't early picks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's one thing I will give Seattle's brass for during that run. They were probably it was the best too. These fucking idiots in the media. I'll give Seattle a D-. Yeah, they had the best draft in the NFL.
Draft grades are always a joke.
Yeah. Oh, Rob, draft grades are like,
you're better to tell me than the guys who are in the room that are scouting these players and putting together their board. It's the national media guys that are going to tell me whether or not they had a good draft. Congratulations. Yeah. I can't even tell you how many times they get that. As a Cowboys fan, I see the same stuff every single year.
Most of those guys are just doing it to feed the content machine. They know they don't know anything. Yeah, they don't know anything.
Wait until the Hammer.bet releases Rob Pizzola's draft grades right after the draft.
I trust Rob's more.
But here's the thing, Pat. If I ever did that, I would just put it out at the start that I know nothing about this. The difference is the people who actually believe they are experts in the space when it comes to like grading draft picks versus guys who just want to have an opinion that are okay with like stating that like, yeah, I have no fucking clue what Micah Parsons is going to turn out to be. That year was the one that pissed me off the most. They drafted Parsons. It's like, oh, the Cowboys, they're always drafting off-ball linebackers. Do they need another off-ball linebacker? Well, guess what? They found one of the best 3 talents in the entire league. And everyone's giving them like D's for that draft and whatever. Anyways, story for another day. I sound like Feinberg right now.
Later, boys.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thanks for popping on, buddy. Jeff. Reminder to everyone out there that they can vote in the Custy Awards. That is down in the description right now. Cam and Rob, I was going to tell you guys that I came up with an idea to do. It's not necessarily going to be a debate, but it will be a live town hall for the Custy Awards. Jeff versus Tim. And Paul and I will be there too, because technically that we're on the ballot at the same time. And we'll have to get like a question. We'll get each of you to film a question that we can air that they will have to respond to on the show.
Love this.
So great idea. And we'll do it live and people can chime in. I'm really hoping this is a big success and not a monumental failure.
I got to tell you, Pat, some of your ideas are just that's just money. That's so good. Like it's just, yeah, Rob. That sounds amazing. Me and Rob, we have to talk about this one. We got to knock it out of the park. Not like sometimes those CNN town hall meetings that get a little bit stale. We got to come with some hot material.
I have some thoughts in my head already.
Good.
I think I want to ask them some questions that would prove insanity that I know that they would say yes to and really embarrass themselves and have to, because this is like an honest thing. They'll get called out if they don't. So I got some ideas, Cam. We can float it back and forth.
I like this.
Yeah, Bronstetter has some ideas too, I think. He's always good to talk to in things like this.
Honestly, Pat, if you and Bronstetter like used your mind for good, like to like save the world instead of like doing the custies and stuff, I think it would be a hell of a lot better place to be living in. That guy's sharp as a tack too. And you know what? Ask Rob. His manipulations on Cohen and all these other guys, like when we worked at the Score, like this guy's a professional shit disturber. Like
he is a schemer through and through.
Yeah,
he knows how to put together a great scheme. I'll give him credit for that. He also just in general like knows how to get through. You know, you watch Aaron, if those who watch him on TSN in Canada doing like the UFC
Sportsnet.
He looks like, is it Sportsnet now? I didn't know that. I'll congratulate him. But he looks very straight faced. You know, he's completely not like that in real life. He loves to joke. And me and Cam, we've experieed that firsandhand over the years.
I've been burned by him lots. And Eric Cohen, you could write a book.
The first time I met Bronstetter, he was hosting the road rage that you and Gabe were doing at some like real dingy bar in Toronto. And I think it was like the roast of Gabe and Cam, and it was fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, we did that. I had to do a roast. Oh yeah, that was the best with Bon Scrovy, and then we did another one from some like real cheesy strip club with Scooby Doo and Santino was there from wrestling. Right, Rob? We've done a few.
There was a few of the roasts. Yeah. Was this one at El Macombo? Maybe.
Yes.
No. It was actually no. El Macombo is a classy bar.
Yeah, we did one there. We did one at El Macombo.
Cherry something. It was that place that we got for like free and. Bon Scrovy, the weed dealer, showed up and all the crew, and that was a madhouse, right?
I have to find my roast from that. I probably still have it saved on my computer somewhere. That was actually some of the finest material I ever put together. It started with just Gabe and Cam getting roasted, and then I just started roasting Feinberg was there. He was getting roasted as well. everyone got roasted that night. It
That was great work. Yeah,
Great.
you were on fire.
Yeah.
That was the first time my wife had met, and I mean, it's probably the first time I met you too, Rob. Like we probably talked before, but like in person, the first time that we had met. But it was also the first time I had brought my wife out to anything like quote work related. And she was like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Tough scene. That's definitely
That's not first date material right
No.
there. That's like, whoa, man.
the fact that you guys have survived that night and you're still together is a testament to who you are as a person, Pat. Because not many people could bring their significant others to a road rage and live to tell the day.
If I brought my woman to that road rage and you said those things, I hate to say it, like fists would be flying. Like she'd actually probably like be in the clink. Like she'd come out and start like laying haymakers with people, DDTs, because she don't take those jokes too good. But anyway, great gal, always got my back. But yeah, it would have ended really poorly.
Let's recap last week because, friends, it was a good week on the Best Bet show. Yep. Rob Pizzola is now 6-0 in the playoffs on his best bet. We all hit our gold bet. We all hit our silver bet, and the Bills let us down on our bronze pick. We both went Bills -2.5, Cam. With our hearts, it let us down. But we won our...
That was the best. Remember, Pat, you go, come on, Cam, just take the... Yes, I'm going to... That was the, like, honestly, like, out of all the things we could have put, that was the worst heart bet ever. Like, we were just so stupid.
Fortunately, we were smart enough to put Kansas City +8.5 on the teaser, Detroit -0.5 point in the Tampa-Detroit over tease down to 42.5, which is a winner. A 3-game, 6-point teaser is a winner, so a great week on the Best Bet show. And, Rob, based on the discussion that we had about, because I love the Mike Evans over, you really like the Rashad White under, and I said that correlating that with the Detroit win would actually make a ton of sense. All those three things. I tweeted out the same game parlay +375. Boom, it hits. Very good.
There you go.
Good week for me.
A great week overall. I mean, can't complain. Unfortunately, it's hard now because we only got a couple games this week and you got to like really dig deep into what's going on with these games. But sometimes just like predicting the story of what's going to happen in that game and using that to build your same game parlay is a lot better than just throwing in a bunch of just random picks. So that worked out, a lot of correlated outcomes in there.
Cam, Drew Dinkmeyer, now of Established the Run, once described a DraftKings lineup to me, especially in Showdown, where you're playing a single game, is, yeah, you can use the optimizer and fill everything out if you're playing 150 lineups, but if you're playing one, what you need to do is tell yourself the story of the game and just push all your chips in on that because you'll get max payout on it. It's not like, well, I think this is how the game is going to go. I'm going to bet the Bills -2.5. Well, if you really have that much conviction that the Bills are going to win -2.5, how does that game play out? And I think that's the perfect way to play same game parlays. Like, what do you think is going to happen and how do you actually get there? And how can you build like 3 to 6 legs up with that and get like 20 to 1 on your money or 5 to 1 on your money instead of just flipping coins?
You know what, Pat? You couldn't have said it any better. And by the way, Drew Dinkmeyer used to be working at the network, regular guest on our show, and this guy's on cruises eating strawberries and cream and has won millions of dollars in DFS. So if you want to listen to one fucking guy, hey, Mayo, congratulations on your wins, but Drew Dinkmeyer, I would consider him like one of the best. Would you not, Pat? Like,
I would.
This guy's very, very good at what he does.
I absolutely would. So yeah, shout out Dink. I haven't talked to Dink in a while. Got to get him back on the show very soon. Gold pick for me this week. I am going to a prop from the Lions and 49ers game. And this number just seems low to me. I like David Montgomery over 43.5 rushing yards in this game. I don't know what's going on with the 49ers rush defense, but hasn't been good in a while. So the overall numbers for the season look really good for their rushing rank, but lately, past month, it has not been good, Rob.
Yeah, and Montgomery still out snapping Jahmyr Gibbs in the playoffs here as well, getting more snap counts than him. I don't mind it, but the overall issue for me would just be if the Lions get into a trailing game state, are they reluctant to run the ball in that type of scenario, or do they bring Gibbs in more when they're trailing because they want his efficiency out of the backfield? Just looking at what my number is here, and I have a small edge to the over on Montgomery as well. So I can't complain about it. Just subjectively speaking, I do think that there's a lot of scenarios, though, where San Fran's going to score a lot in this game, and that makes it more likely that the Lions will maybe abandon the run. I'm not sure that they ever will because they are the Lions, But that's the only thing that I would be worried about here.
So the way that I would kind of put this together, Cam, and I agree with what Rob said. If the Niners jump up 14-0, this bet is dead, essentially, unless they just have a draw at the end of the half and he breaks one for 40 yards. It's meaningless, which is always on the table as well when you do this. But I would probably go beyond just the single on Montgomery, like Montgomery with Lions +7 and probably Jahmyr Gibbs unders on the rushing game or under 3.5 receptions, something like that.
No, I agree with you 100%. And you know what? I think it's going to be a very interesting game too. And people remember what they saw last too. And to Rob, that was a quick little, I'm not sure if it was foreshadowing or anything like that, but the 49ers showed, we can bring our D game and still get things done in a game. So I'd be very, very, very careful with what they could do to Detroit secondary this week. But yeah, Pat, I actually like to play a lot.
All right, Rob, your gold pick.
Okay, I'm going to go to a prop from the other game, Kansas City, Baltimore. I'm going to take Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals made at +100.
That is a great bet.
I think so. Personally, the Chiefs had a lot of success moving the ball against the Bills last week. This is going to be a step up in class. I don't think the Ravens are going to completely shut down the Chiefs, even if Joe Thuney is out on the offensive line for Kansas City. But I do think what's more likely to happen in this game is that the Ravens defense is going to force more stops in the red zone. They have the second best red zone defense this year in terms of limiting teams to field goals instead of touchdowns. Team enters the red zone. They only score a touchdown 40% of the time against Baltimore. So lots of field goals here. Andy Reid is very conservative in his decision-making as well. He has no problem kicking field goals because he trusts Butker. I think the number is at 1.5 +100. I think it's off. I think it should be favored to the over around -120 here. So give me Butker over 1.5 field goals.
All right, Cam, we'll rifle through these. Do you have a gold selection?
I kind of want to do sides because you guys are doing props, but I'm going to do a prop and just get it out of the way right now. Pat, you can give me the new number on DraftKings, but I was going through my numbers last week on a couple sports books. George Kittle over 57.5 receiving yards. What do you got? Has that changed in any way, or are we there?
60.5 receiving yards on Kittle right now.
Last night it was 57.5. I don't like that steam. I'll still take it at 60.5. I think Kittle's going to be a big factor in the San Francisco offense. We're not sure about Deebo Samuel. He's just a monster. He can break tackles. I also like a touchdown for Kittle, but I worry about this being gold, guys. There's a lot of other little ones, but you got to stick to the game plan. So I don't know how you feel about this, Rob. I'd like your opinion, but I think George Kittle might go off for like 100+ in this game.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of it's to do with whether or not Deebo Samuel plays. And if he plays, whether or not they use him as a decoy or not as a decoy. Honestly, I think the 49ers are going to score a lot in this game. We'll get to that in the silver and bronze here. But I have no problem targeting any of the skill position players for the 49ers over and just hoping that the Lions can keep up in the game. Because you don't want a scenario where, okay, you play Kittle yards over, and exactly like we were talking about with Montgomery, with Pat, the 49ers go up a bunch. In that case, Shanahan's going to hand the ball off a lot. He does that. That'll be a Christian McCaffrey game. So you kind of need the Lions to keep pace a little bit here. But I think any skill position player for San Fran has a great matchup. The last 5 games, the Lions passing defense has been really bad. And they're getting away with it because they're forcing turnovers. But in a game where they don't force turnovers, like, okay, yeah, you forced 4 turnovers against Nick Mullins, right? You gave up like 400 yards through the air. The guy looked like Joe Montana on every other throw. I think the 49ers could really do damage through the air in this game.
So Ayuk overs is what you want to go to.
You know what, Pat? It's interesting. His number is high, but I think they put it high to try to get some under action. Like if you look at Ayuk's numbers, it's very, very high. But, we don't know about Samuel. I think Ayuk's going to have a monster game as well. I think he's going to go off.
If Samuel ends up being out in this game, Rob, who do you think stands to benefit the most? Is it like Ronnie Bell, or do you think you would hit the over on Juwan Jennings?
So I actually think Chris Conley got some snaps like late in the game. You don't really know what the rotation is going to be for the 49ers. Obviously, Juwan Jennings becomes the number 2. So you can elevate him a little bit. His overs are probably good. But if you want to throw some darts, Conley anytime touchdown. I don't think Bell actually suited up last week. I could check his snap counts really quickly. I'm not sure if I saw him in the game or not, even when Deebo went down. But Jawan Jennings is the obvious that you go to him right afterwards. Then I would say it's Chris Conley and maybe even like Ray McLeod. I don't think Ronnie Bell saw the field last week. I think he's out of favor. So those are the guys that take a step up.
Well, if you watch the Kittle touchdown last week, you also saw Ray McLeod running directly just off to the left behind him, also wide open in the end zone. So maybe that's the play. Like, I wonder if you can factor that in. Let me just click on the game here.
What's McLeod's yards receiving?
Probably like 5.5. That's usually what it is.
You know what?
Because he usually gets 0.
I love betting those. I'd go over. That's one catch. Remember, me and Gabe laugh about this stuff all the time. The Zay Jones 1.5 receiving yards, one catch, 6 yards. Like, it's just a bet you got to make. Even if it doesn't happen, it's just the numbers are too good, right, Rob? Like, it's just he's a punt returner. Say he has a couple good punt returns. They get him into the action. They put him in some formations. I think that number is way too low.
They are not. Yeah. DraftKings Sportsbook is not offering any Ray McLeod odds.
No one in the market is right now. But I will tell you, if Debo is out and they do announce him out, they will put a prop up on McLeod. It will be out there. Typically, the third and fourth receiver will get it. But the 49ers have been weird this year because it was like week 14 or 15, Willie Snead got a bunch of targets in that game. There was a game where Ronnie Bell scored a touchdown. I bet him anytime touchdown score in that game. But it seems like they're off of that now. And it looks like if Debo's out, I'd go Ayuk, Jennings, Conley probably gets the third most snaps of anyone on the 49ers. And then McLeod gets mixed in some 4 wide receiver sets.
I like that Conley play.
Silver picks for championship weekend. Is that what we're calling? Is it championship round, championship weekend? What's the proper title?
Championship weekend, I think.
Yeah, championship weekend.
Yeah. All right, there we go. I'm going to take Marquez, Valdez, Scantling. It's a bit juiced. I think it's up to -150 now, but I still like his under 1.5 receptions against the Ravens because he sucks. And every time every time I bet his under, he goes over. And I've done it like 3 times this year. And I think
his yards this week, Pat, I think it's 14.5. That's kind of scary. He gets 1 or 2
No, and this is where I usually I do it incorrectly. And maybe I'll get it wrong this time as well, because they'll throw him 2 bubble screens for -2 yards or something like that. And I'll be like, great, he hit the over. But generally speaking, if you did want to pair this up and try to break the same game parlay algorithm, you could go Marquez Valdez Scantling under 1.5 receptions over 14.5 yards. Because generally speaking, I think last week, he had 1 catch for 60 yards or something like that. Yep. He's like Jameson Williams on the Lions, where they're just not going to target him. And the only time that they do target him is either like I said, on a bubble screen where he can try to beat 3 guys and take off, or just bomb it to him down the field.
The difference is that Kansas City has so many more wide receivers that they would rather throw bubble screens to, that are for reasons. Exactly. I don't know why that's the case for them in particular, but generally speaking, the targets that MVS gets are all downfield. To me, it's inversely correlated, but it makes a lot of sense in terms of the under receptions over receiving yards. I think he'll probably get a couple targets in this game downfield, but Baltimore is very, very good. He did this against Houston last week at preventing explosive plays. They don't give up a lot of deep shots. That to me is who's the guy on the Chiefs that's going to really hurt the most? I think MVS. I think a lot of stuff for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game is underneath Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, running backs out of the backfield. So I also like that look, Pat.
If you play the over 14.5 yards same game parlay, Cam, with the under 1.5 receptions, it pays 7 to 1.
That's a great number, Pat. I'm actually, it's funny, foreshadowing. I'm looking at a same game parlay as one of my mineral picks, and Pat, that number is absolutely stunning. I think you almost have to play it at that number.
And if you want to get really crazy and you say under 1.5 catches over 50 yards, it pays 65 to 1. So he just catches his 1 bomb.
I like the sauce. I'm telling you, it's you give me a 65 to 1, I'm already getting a boner. So yeah, that's you had me at 7 to 1.
So the other one that we played, we both talked about it on the show. I went 0-4 on my spread picks last week, so that's not good. Hopefully I can get back on the right track here. But
see, that's the thing, Pat. I'm the spread man. You're the prop man. And Rob's the spread. Rob's both. He's spread and prop. He does it all. He's like parquet, margarine, right? He spread it on. He's amazing. But that's the thing. I don't know what it is. I guess because I'm old and I've been doing sides and totals so long. It's just that's the first thing that I attract to. But this week, there's a little voice in my head saying it's not as easy. Like the prop market looks a little more intriguing. Like last week, I loved the Packers, right? And we loved Baltimore, right, Rob? Like it's just, but this week I'm like, backdoor cover, that hook with the Chiefs, even though like it's tough. You know what I'm saying, Pat? But you're good at props, buddy. Stick to what works. That's what a guy, good gamblers say. Whatever works for you, do.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's what I've been doing all year. Like I've been betting very few sides and totals. I've been just hammering props. That's where the prop sniper really came into play. I was like, all right, here we go. You're telling me this has a 71% chance of winning? I will bet that. And the times that I go against it, I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, this week at runthesims.com/Mayo to get your 10% discount. Like the number one play, because it factors odds into it as well, is Jahmyr Gibbs under 23.5 receiving yards at even money. And you're like, ugh, like that doesn't sound right. He's had like 4 for 40 in each of the 2 playoff games, but maybe those were outliers, Rob.
Possibly. I mean, I could look into the way that the 49ers defend running backs out of the backfield as well. One of the biggest way to beat the 49ers is on the outside of the field, right? They defend the middle of the field at by far the best rate in the entire league. They're very good because they have a very good group of linebackers at getting these running backs down out of the backfield as well. It's more of the guys like Jameson Williams, in my opinion, or we're going to have like bigger games that attack on the outside. That's where everyone beats the 49ers. So I think it's matchup specific here, Pat, more so than that. Like Gibbs has done this in his previous games. Just expect him to do it going forwards. Well, the opponent matters as well.
I would tend to agree. So yeah, Jameson Williams, maybe he is another one that you want to go with on this, the under receptions over receiving total.
Very possible. He is that big play guy. I mean, this is the way I think. Like Ben Johnson's a good OC. This is a really weird and interesting game because the Lions love to throw over the middle of the field. If you look at Goff's dropbacks this year, he targets the middle of the field more than any quarterback in the league, and it's like substantial difference between first place and second place. He does not throw outside a lot. Part of it is he doesn't have the arm strength of a lot of other quarterbacks, but also it's just not their game plan. What happens this week when their bread and butter is throwing over the middle of the field and they get the defense that defends the middle of the field better than anyone else? Do they go with their strength or do they attack the weakness of the opposing team? Ben Johnson, to me, seems like a guy that attacks the weakness of the opposing team. I don't know for sure, but I think early go, especially now that DraftKings has like live in-game props, I think you can watch 1 or 2 Detroit drives and see how things are going here and really figure out a good way to play things going forwards in-game as well. So I think this one's a really interesting matchup because you have one team that does something exclusively. The other team that defends it really well. Does that change this week?
Okay. Do you have a silver pick, Rob?
I do. I'm going to, for the sake of finding good bets rather than trying to just keep the perfect record intact, silver and bronze are going to be some bigger underdogs that I think are good bets. I'm going to go with the silver.
I think you should try to keep your perfect record in because if you get like, it's almost like a shutout with a goalie. I think you just keep on going perfect, man. Go all the way to the Super Bowl perfect. Let's go.
It could still happen. This could still happen. It's not like I'm going like plus 1,000. I'm taking a plus 160 here as my silver.
Sorry. I thought you were going to do something like 5-1 or up. Okay,
no. Plus 160.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm taking Gus Edwards under a half reception at plus 160. So I'm taking Gus Edwards to finish the game with no catches. It's probably the worst bet to ever cheer for in the history of sports. I do these ones quite a bit for a couple reasons, though. Justice Hill is outsnapping. Ever since Keaton Mitchell got hurt, Justice Hill is outsnapping Gus Edwards. Even if you look at last week's games, specifically Gus Edwards is on the field only 23 snaps. The previous time that he played, he was on the field for 19 snaps. He's not getting out there a lot, but in particular, if you just look at Gus Edwards' targets on a weekly basis, I mean, he's had like multiple targets only a couple times this year. The chances he's going to get one target are probably like 50-50. The chances he can get no target are pretty high as well. He's just not a guy they exclusively use out of the passing game. And Kansas City is also another team that is stout against opposing running backs as well. I think that this is worth the price at plus 160. I think it should be in like the plus 130 range. So I'll take Gus Edwards not to get a catch in the Ravens and Chiefs game.
All right, Cam, you're up.
Pat, I'm going to blow you guys away. Rob, I don't know what happens. I feel like when you're watching Scooby-Doo and there's like a painting and you see the eyes in the hole of the painting, he's following me around. Justice Hill's my guy. He's my guy. But the question I ask you is, do I do rushing and receiving or just rushing? Because I'm having a real problem. I'm going to bet both. I just want to know which one's better. But I know he got 16 rushes for what? Was it 66 yards last week?
Yep.
And what about the receiving? How many catches did he have there? 2 for, what do you have, Rob? Do you know? Sorry, it's on this site. It's I thought he had 2 for like 11 or what. I don't. What do you just? I'm asking your opinion.
Justice Hill had 2 for 11 last week. Yes.
Yes.
Wow, that's off the top of my head too, man. I actually remember people's birthdays instead of stats. Okay, what do you guys think? Would you do combined or rushing?
Who do you like in the game?
I like Baltimore.
So you have to think about this. You have to think about this as well. Like when you look at the split last week from the Baltimore backfield, one of the main adjustments that they made at halftime were like, you know what? We're just not like Lamar's just under duress the entire time. We're going to stop throwing the ball and we're going to only run it against a good run defense and we're going to be successful. 11 carries for Lamar, 13 for Justice Hill, 10 for Gus Edwards, and 8 for Dalvin Cook. They ran the ball 42 times. I don't think that they get to that number against Kansas City.
Probably not, especially since the likelihood that they're going to be leading by a lot in the second half and just keep running the ball is lower than it was against Houston. That's just like what the spread is with the game. With that said, I don't know, Cam. It's iffy.
I like them both. So how about I get Justice Hill over 32.5 rushing yards? Are we down with that program?
Yep.
Done. Is he 32.5 on DraftKings? I found a 32.5.
33 and a half.
Okay, I find one of my books has 32.5. The other one has 33.5. I'll take 33.5 if I have to. Okay, see, Pat, it's a new year. I'm not even trying to screw you guys for it's the extra yard stuff. Like, I'll take the 33.5.
The best bet that Run the Sims has, and this is at Bet Phillip Rivers, so not DraftKings for this one.
Phillip Rivers.
They have an adjusted rushing odd. It's 39.5 for Justice Hill. And the Run the Sims projection is 41 rushing yards. But you get plus 165 on the 39.5 over instead of even money.
Pat, I'm a greedy guy, but I'm going to keep it safe.
Okay.
33.5, please. Just regular 33.5. Because if he gets to 35 or 36 and doesn't hit the big number for the plus, I couldn't care less. Rob, I will say one thing, though. We're not going to have this teaser argument, but I just have to ask you one question. When the team is 9.5, like the Niners were, that's when you do a 7-point teaser. What's the point of 3.5 when you need 2.5 and a field goal, you win your teaser?
Agreed. But also you have to remember it depends on the teaser pricing, which is not universal from site to site, right?
Fair
like
enough.
some sites offer you 7-point teaser at one price, some offer you at another. But generally speaking, and this is like, listen, everyone bet the way that you want to bet. But in order for a teaser to make mathematical sense where the bet is in your favor, is you have to tease through 7 and 3, which are the two most likely landing spots of a game in the NFL. And those tend to be like slightly positive in the player's favor. So I would agree, Cam. Like there's no sense in teasing down to 3.5 because oftentimes, I mean, the most common number in the NFL is 3, and you're not capturing that number.
Yep.
Justice Hill over 33.5 rushing yards in a same game parlay, Cam, with Justice Hill over 7.5 rushing attempts is plus 180.
We do this for a show called Extra Props.
You might as well throw Baltimore money line in there too.
Okay.
Because it's kind of correlated, right?
Yeah.
Like if Baltimore is winning, they're going to run the ball more. If they're losing, they're going to throw the ball more.
Okay, so you guys.
With the Ravens money line, that's now plus 260.
Okay, so at Justice Hill over 33.5 Ravens money line,
and over 7.5
and over
rushing
on
attempts.
Oh, yes, I do like that. But if I'm going to tell you guys something, I will never get mad at you. But if Justice Hill hits the over 33.5 and the other one of those 3 loses, I'll be a little bit hurt. But I'm just going to play Justice Hill. But you know what? I will do your picks because I want a little bit.
I'm not playing that. I'm just saying that this is a way that you can correlate it together in a same game parlay for it to make. If you listen, we know that people hate betting coin flips at 50-50 odds where you bet 100 to win 95. What they want, Rob, is a same game parlay where you bet 100 to win 400. That's what they want.
There's a reason these bet types are taking the world by storm and they're advertised on TV nonstop. It's what the people want. I get it. You just got to be really careful, right? You're trying to find stuff that you can kind of price together that makes sense. Like, this is going to happen. Therefore, in a situation where this happens, this is also likely to happen. And this is also likely to happen, rather than just picking like a bunch of random stuff that doesn't make sense in the context of one type of game. So that's the way that you should try to play and put together these same game parlays.
Ooh, I got one for you then. Okay, if we're gonna go balls deep, Justice Hill had 16 rushing attempts last week. Okay, so you guys want, so Pat, you said over 7.5 rushing attempts.
Yep.
33.5 rushing yards. Baltimore to win the game. And can you add Pacheco over 62.5 rushing yards to that parlay and see what it pays?
Yes, I will add Pacheco
So
over.
if I'm gonna go, I'm just gonna do Justice Hill. I'm telling the people right now, but I'm playing this for, and I like Rob, I'm gonna show some massive stones, and we're gonna go, hey, let's have some fun with this one because it's gonna pay boxcars.
Okay, so you can those ones. So the two Justice Hills, Ravens money line, and Pacheco over 63.5 rushing yards pays 8-1. What I would throw on it, because the prop sniper loves this, because because you're saying
It's almost like wait, Pat, we just went to the buffet. I just added more items. Like, when's this madness gonna? Can I just stop at Pacheco?
Listen, you're not counting calories at a buffet, Cam. Once you're there, you're there, and you're digging in deep. So we got these four. We got Justice Hill. If Justice Hill gets over 7.5 carries and is doing damage on the ground, to me, that would say, hey, let's ride Justice Hill in this game. Do you know what that also means? Gus Edwards under 41.5 rushing yards. Gus Edwards under 9.5 carries. Now we're up to 30-1.
Listen, I'll play it because I like it. Can I just end with I'll end with Pacheco at 8-1. And Rob, that is an extremely high number for a silver bet. Would you not agree?
Well, I have your silver bet as Justice Hill over rushing yards. That's
we're just going.
We're just
we'll
vamping
throw this
here.
in as like a bonus.
I see. I thought I had to do.
No, we're not forcing you into going a 30-1 parlay as your silver. We're not going to tell you to. I
am almost there though. But you guys are doing a real sales job. Thank God you don't come to my door with products. I will just take Justice Hill over, and I'm going to play multiple parlays with the rest of the stuff. You're right. I'm not screwing around. Justice Hill, please.
All right. So I also just added on my favorite one, the MVS under 1.5 receptions and his over 14.5 yards. Cam, we're at 160-1 now.
Oh, Pat, you're just like, imagine you were like I was hooked on drugs and you were my dealer. I got a real problem. Like, I'd have to go hit the money mark for cash advances. You're really selling me hard, but I like your plays.
Let's do it. All right. Bronze picks. Last one. I am going to try to keep this simple with, something I've had a lot of success with so far. I mean, obviously it hasn't been perfect. Shockingly, all bets don't win 100% of the time, but I like Brock Purdy over 7.5 rushing yards against the Lions. I think they'll generate just enough pressure, and especially after what we saw last week with Brock Purdy, where the passes weren't as crisp, that maybe in some of these situations where he would try to force a ball in or whatever, I think the pressure might get to him a little bit, and usually in those circumstances, quarterbacks put their head down, they don't want to make a mistake, and they just jolt forward. And he ran 6 times last week. I don't need him to run 6 times this week. I need him to run like 3 times, and that should be good enough.
One thing that happens in the playoffs pretty much across the board with quarterbacks, some more than others, Josh Allen is like one guy that happens with a lot more than others, is that in the regular season, if a quarterback feels pressure, oftentimes he'll just really quickly check down to the running back. In the playoffs, we see them actually take the ball and run with it more than they actually check down to the running back in those situations. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because like the games mean more, games on the line, they trust themselves to pick up the yardage, but that is something that exists. So no problem with that one, Pat, because I mean, we did see it last week as well.
Silver pick, Rob, or bronze pick, Rob.
Yeah. I will. So on DraftKings, if you go to the team props, team total points section, you can basically like take any derivative of a team's total points. I'll just give out what's the standard market price right now and take the 49ers over 29.5 points at -115. But I would say that I would be willing to take some shots a little bit deeper down the board as well, like over 34.5 plus 220, even going over 39.5 at like plus 455. I think the 49ers offense is incredibly underrated right now. To each their own. Some people might think that like Purdy was really skittish last week and like didn't look like himself. We've seen 2 games where Brock Purdy has played in bad rain, and he's sucked badly in both of those games. He's not wearing a glove last week. He couldn't really get the ball out. He has small hands. This is why he was drafted in the 7th round. This is not a guy that's going to be able to play well in bad weather conditions. This is a clean game for him. If we look at the Detroit Lions over the course of the past 5 weeks, which I was talking about earlier, they played Nick Mullins. They gave up 11.5 yards per attempt. Dak Prescott, 9.1 yards per attempt. Nick Mullins again, 9 yards per attempt. Matt Stafford, 10.2 yards per attempt. Baker Mayfield was the lowest yards per attempt of any quarterback in the last month and a half at 8.5 yards per attempt. They gave up a ton through the air. Whether or not Deebo plays, obviously I'd like to have Deebo Samuel on the field, but everyone's like fixated on these San Francisco 49ers splits when Deebo's not on the field. It's not Deebo. It's Trent Williams. The games that Deebo missed earlier this year, Trent Williams also missed those games. If you look at games where Deebo is off, but Trent Williams is on, the offense doesn't drop off all that much. I think the 49ers are going to score a lot in this game. I don't know that they're going to cover necessarily because I do have concerns about their defense, but I think the best way to attack it is just play San Fran to score points. So team total over on the 49ers. Officially for the best bets, 29.5. But if you do want to go a little bit deeper than that to get some plus money, I think that's a good play as well.
Love it.
Cam, you got one left. What do you got for us?
I think I'm going to do something a little bit different too, guys. We're really mixing up the ingredients this week. I'm going to do a Baltimore money line, San Francisco money line parlay at DraftKings. It's minus 104. Done.
So this is what we talked about on the spread pick show, and I played this one. I think it pays 28-1. It is Baltimore, San Francisco money line, Chiefs and Lions to cover.
Oh God.
Really?
We call that the Feinberg.
Wow.
Where he picks one team to cover the spread, but the other team to win, so he can emotionally hedge out of the game.
Know what though, Pat? It worked for me with the Niners last week, right, guys? Because we did the money line parlays with it was Lions, Niners, and Ravens, which turned out pretty good. I think it was like plus 105, whatever. It's like, and Green Bay was one of our top picks to cover the spread. So it's a nice middle job. Rob, do you think the Ravens win? Pat, do you think the Ravens win?
I mean, I do, but I'm probably going to pick Kansas City.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just got to win the game then. I don't have to cover 3.5. You know what? I got to be honest with you. That parlay is pretty good. Like it's not as juicy as you think. It's almost like it's less than pick'em juice. So I got to take it at 104.
I know people who just want to blindly back Mahomes because it's Mahomes getting like 3.5 points. I get that, but like I really do. If you go back to Brady, right, and you just bet Brady every single game of his career, like you would have made a killing, and especially in the playoffs. I understand that. Baltimore's a very complete team that has like a lot of matchup advantages. If Joe Thuney misses out on the O-line for Kansas City, I'm not suggesting this is going to be like the KC Tampa Bay Super Bowl where the Bucks D-line just killed the KC O-line and Mahomes couldn't do anything. But that's in the range of outcomes of what can happen, right? Like it kind of tilts it a little bit more to Baltimore's favor. If KC wins, I'm not surprised. Like Mahomes, I didn't think he was going to be able to just turn it on for the playoffs. He's just turned it on for the playoffs. And now all of a sudden the offense is good again. It wouldn't surprise me, but I think Baltimore's a better overall team than KC right now.
Agreed.
But then you have the Mahomes factor.
Mahomes factor. I mean, listen, it sucks to bet against the guy. It does. He's great. He just finds ways to get it done. Like 8 straight AFC championship games. Like the guy is in my opinion, I know a lot of people don't like to see the same teams win over and over. And that's why like there's a lot of hate for Mahomes, but the fucking guy is an amazing quarterback. Like he just gets it done. It's scary to need to win by margin against Mahomes. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't want to bet Baltimore spread. I think Baltimore is going to win the game. I think the most likely outcome is the Ravens win by a field goal.
Yep. 3 or 4.
And there you go.
Great line.
And there's your Feinberg. Chiefs cover, Ravens win.
Well, maybe this thing
It's like-
works.
Then we
Just
just
like the
Patrick?
guys that in Major League Baseball play first 5 innings on one team
Yeah.
and then full game on the other team. I know that bullpen is going to come in and they're going to blow it afterwards and whatever. First 5 with this starter, full game with the other team. I love that one.
Yeah, someday, hey, if a team's got a flammable bullpen, Pizzola, it can work. Pat, I can't type as quickly as we talk. Can you send me all those crazy things you did for my parlay that made it extremely big?
Yeah,
That
because
would be great.
I bet it when we were talking, so I can send that to you right now.
Wow, man, you're fast. I gotta hire you. You took keyboarding in high school? Holy Jesus, you're fast on
I
keyboard.
did take keyboarding in high school, yes.
I did too, but I obviously was probably smoking weed and a little bit slower on the trigger, words per minute. You're fast, man.
Well, I mean, I took it in 2001, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, like, internet games weren't super good yet, but there was a free version of Family Feud that you could play that we all just played against each other in
yeah.
class instead of actually typing.
Yeah,
great.
we downloaded emulators and we would just play like Blades of Steel against
Oh yeah,
each other.
Nerd-
Blades of
nerd
Steel.
alert.
What a great game.
I
on.
downloaded an emulator in 1997. I'm Rob.
No, same age as you, first of all, right in around that time. But also coming from the guy who played Family Feud in class. What is more nerdy here, playing Family Feud or Blades of Steel?
Oh,
Cam?
Okay,
I'll give you guys
hold
something
on.
that-
I would give you that, yes, playing Family Feud over Blades of Steel would be nerdier, but we went to access the free game that none of downloading an emulator. Come on, Rob. What did you do? Were you discussing your friends while playing Riven how to download emulators?
Yeah, this guy directed Tron. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a story. Last night, Pat, my girlfriend and I, we watched old TV. It was Classic Crossword. It's Classic Password. It's one of the best games ever created from the 60s. Phyllis Diller was on the panel. Bow Wow Wow. Bowser from Sha-Na-Na. I'm telling you, that game at the end where they have the letters, like you go, see Canada, and they have like all like, you know what I'm talking about, Rob? Like the final like crazy round with the clock where you have a clue and you have to go through like all the alphabet and stuff. That game show rocks. Like it's like literally from the 60s, and I watch it every night. It is fantastic.
Was it the Alan Ludden ones? Alan Ludden,
Yes,
was he?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. He's the one who was married to Betty White.
Betty White.
Yes. Rob, see his glasses too, those square gold specs? Those things fucking rock. Where do I get a pair? Anyway, I'm telling you, Pat, my girlfriend and I watch that show. It makes you smarter. Like, I'm just like, it's a great, like that game show was so ahead of its time. Like, let's call it out for what it is. These game shows now suck. They're so stupid and boring. Like back then they had characters, they were drunk high. It was just cool. Like it's just different times.
Yeah, the game shows like that, they can't exist. Everyone's moved on to reality TV now, right?
Yeah,
Like no one wants to play games anymore and watch people play games. They want to see them live their real lives with all these crazy
Yeah.
twists happening in
Their
between.
lives suck.
I
I already got a life, and it could be boring or exciting depending on what day you see me. I like games.
I saw a commercial for Deal or No Deal. It was either on an island or on a cruise. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but I saw a commercial for it.
Oh, Deal or No Deal's good. It's fine. It's not as good as
I
the game.
would be
Bob
the
and I are
worst
talking
Deal or No Deal contestant. They would never have me on that show because it's a math-based show. You just like calculate the expected value of what they're offering you relative to what's left in the boxes.
You would never
And
take the deal. They are always offering you
they're always offering you. So me personally, exactly, Pat, I would just go and hope that I have the million in my box but like, I'm not suggesting everyone does that. If it's a life-changing amount of money for you, you can throw the expected value out the window. It doesn't matter. Like if someone's offering, if I went to Cam and said, Cam, I'm going to give you $10 million, or you can flip this coin and it's a 50-50. And if you win the coin flip, you get 50 million. He's going to take the 10 million,
Yeah,
right? And the expected value doesn't make sense to do that, but it's a life-changing amount of money. You throw the math out the window. For me, Deal or No Deal, it's just like I watch some of these people and like they're even talking about it. They're like, yeah, I don't really need this. I could press it a little bit more, but they take the deal anyways. And that's like the ultimate trigger point for me.
Yeah.
Very triggering when people don't follow math.
Well, you must have had a real field day with Wilbon this week.
Oh God. I actually recorded a video. It's coming out today on why the 2-point conversion down 8 makes sense. People don't like, you watch TV and all they say is
Down
like,
14.
well,
sorry.
analytics
Down 14.
Down 8 because they scored the touchdown, but same thing, right? You watch the broadcast and they say, well, analytics says to go for it. And anytime somebody hears analytics, that's like old school, they immediately just like they blow up, they spontaneously combust. It's not, no one explains why it actually makes sense to do that. And people forget the Titans, when they beat the Dolphins this year on that Monday Night Football game,
true.
They did that. They went for 2, they got it, and then they scored the touchdown late. They kicked the extra point for the win. The reason that teams go for 2 in that situation is because you can avoid the overtime outcome. It's your only chance of avoiding the overtime outcome, and that really swings things in your favor. The goal is not to go to overtime in football. The goal is to win the game. So that's why teams go for it. But yeah, I saw the Wilbon thing. The thing that triggers me at the Wilbon thing is like ESPN has a lot of good analytics people that you can simply sit down with for 30 seconds and ask them about this. Like Troy Aikman does at some of these broadcasts now. Go back to 10 years ago. He had no fucking clue what he was talking about, but he actually took in, like, he sat down with some people and asked them to explain why teams do these in these situations. And now he's like more cognizant of that. So yes, Pat, I was very triggered by Mike Wilbon, who just like, it's such a outdated, like at least try to understand it before you don't have to agree, but at least try to understand before you're going to talk about it.
And I think it does go to different philosophies of how people think about football, like kicking the can down the road. It's like, oh, if we score the touchdown, kick the extra point, score the touchdown, kick the extra point, we can go to overtime and we can win this game. Or you can exponentially increase your like if you do that, you can't win the game in regulation. If you do go for the 2, even if you don't get the first one, you can still tie it back up and then go to overtime. The problem is although the win expectancy goes up if you go for the 2 down 14 or down 8 like Rob said, it also brings in you outright losing the game at a higher degree than it would be trying to do 2 extra points. The thing that I always come back to is that people think that it's like blitz, where you just press the button and you get an automatic extra point. Like you can miss the extra point too.
You can.
Of course. It's like 95, 96%. There's going to be 1 in 20 where you miss it. Like all this matters. I mean, look at the Bucks last week, right? So Bowles makes a decision to go for it. If they end up in overtime, you know who's the big underdog in overtime? Tampa Bay is, because they were a 6.5 point underdog going into the game. It's like, they got to overtime all of a sudden. Now that's a 50-50. No, it's not. You ever seen live betting markets when the games go to overtime? The team that was favored going into the game is favored in overtime as well. So there's a lot of things that go into it. Like, I'm not saying that if you're like a 17 point favorite in the game, maybe it makes sense to go PAT because overtime works in your favor, especially in the playoffs, where it's not one and done. If you go down in the field and score now, it's no longer one and done. But there's a lot of arguments out there that don't make sense. Like people are like, Baker Mayfield's not going to have the same 2-point conversion rate as Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whatever. That's true. But like he could have a historically bad 2-point conversion rate and it still makes sense for him to go for it. Like just, again, applying simple math. So I actually did record a video that'll be out on the Circles Off channel later today, because there's just a lot of confusion on it. And I think if people saw the math actually in front of them, it might make it a little bit easier for people to process.
So the Circles Off YouTube channel, you can find that on?
That'll be out hopefully tonight, Pat. The producer's cutting it up. I recorded it yesterday, and it will be there, and it will live in perpetuity as an educational video.
Nice.
What
do you guys think about Sinner upsetting Djokovic in tennis? Do you like that?
I don't follow tennis enough to tell you.
I saw it was on at the gym when I was there, and I kind of glanced at it, and for a moment I thought that Djokovic was Andy Murray, and I was like, what is going on with me? Like, I haven't paid attention to tennis, and so is Djokovic just like the last guy who's just awesome? And if he
he's
shows
getting older though.
He's
and
getting older.
Rob, you'll love this guy, Sinner. He's a redheaded Italian. He doesn't lose. The guy has not lost like a set. Like, he is awesome. He's the next big thing. He's a big underdog. Just saying. Anyway,
it's basically like a union, a redheaded Italian.
I got it.
No. I talked to Italians. A lot of redheads in the north.
I have a
more
friend,
pasty white skin, but yes.
I have a friend who the only thing he bets is women's tennis, and he only bets women's tennis underdogs, and he makes good money.
Pat, I'm telling you, I bet women's tennis last night, and I went 4-0. I went to the NHL, and the fucking LA Kings basically cut my balls off. Like, you know what I mean? So women's tennis is great.
Do we want to do a teaser here? Because I think I have one. A 6-point teaser.
I got one.
A two-game 6-point teaser. We tease the Chiefs up to 9.5, and then we tease the over down in the other game. If Rob thinks that San Francisco is going to score over 30 by themselves, then go with the over and just bring it down. If we're going to keep this rolling kind of thing for content purposes.
Or we could do a total. Which game do you like over? Which game do you like under, or both? Tell me your scenarios.
I mean, I think I'm like the world, and I like the San Francisco and Detroit over, Rob.
I would lean to the. I'm concerned about Detroit's offense, honestly, but I do like the San Fran team total over. So
I like the other game. I like Baltimore KC under. Gabe and I disagreed on that game last night because I think Baltimore wins like 27-16. Like it just stays under. Like
I don't think there's going to be enough big plays in that game. That's not to say it can't go over, but I don't see a lot of like. These are two teams that don't give up big plays, right? And they don't play a lot of no huddle either. They typically both play a little bit slower. So
the under.
Lean under there for me personally.
All right,
God,
so
let's Lamar under.
Well, let's do that. Let's play Rob's favorite thing in the world, a 6-point tease on two totals. So we will bring Detroit and San Francisco down to 45.5, and we will bring the under of Chiefs and Ravens up to 50.5.
Sold. Can we just add 2 and go and do with our originals too? KC plus and San Fran?
No, I don't think that we need to do that. Now we have our 6-point.
Well, you guys were forcing 8 pick like same game.
I didn't say. Listen,
what if we do a sides teaser and a totals teaser, two separate ones?
Yes. See, Rob, you're the voice of reason today, which is pretty intense.
So
that's the host. He gets to decide.
We want to go San Francisco -1 and Kansas City plus 9.5.
Yes.
Sure.
Even though I think the Ravens can win by 10. Yes,
they can. Of course they can. And Detroit can win the game outright, but we're getting, I think, the sides that I don't know.
If we get these right, we're 8-10 on the year for our teaser. We get both these right, we're back to 500, which means we're up money on teasers.
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
don't give a shit about 8 and 10. It's about the plus column. And Rob's on fire right now, 6-0. We're on a heater. Our picks have been good. Like honestly, like Pat, I'm going to be honest. If we took sides like last week, 3-1 and the only reason we lost that damn we could have gone perfect is the stupid Bills because our hearts wanted Buffalo and the heart doesn't pay the bills. That's the problem. Oh, literally, doesn't pay the bills.
No pun intended.
I actually didn't even think about it. You know what? And why are we cheering for a team? Like, I hate bills. Like, I get bills in the mail. It's probably something I should, like, I know it's a Buffalo, but God damn it, like, bills.
It's that fan base, man. I don't,
Rob, I was listening to Buffalo radio show up with the Bulldog of these guys. Like, I feel sorry for them now. It's not even funny. Like, these people have been tortured so much. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. No. I got their back.
Wide right as well. Like it couldn't have.
It's a disaster. It's an absolute shit show.
Yeah. One day they're going to lose a playoff game that goes to overtime. They're going to get the ball first. They're going to go down the field and score a touchdown, but the game won't be over because they were the team that complained that they never touched the ball in overtime.
Yeah.
The other team will get the ball, go down, score a touchdown, go for 2 and win the game. That's how the Buffalo Bills franchise is destined. And it'll be Mahomes too. Maybe next year in the playoffs, we'll see that happen.
Well, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. As I mentioned, runthesims.com/Mayo to get the discount on the prop sniper. Get it for a week. It's like $11. You'll probably make more than $11 worth of prop bets. I mean, if you've listened to this show, you're probably already like $5,000 in deep, depending on what you want to do with your same game parlays. Play that 160 to 1. Me and Cam are playing it. You should play it too and lose your money that way. The fun way on same game parlays. Also, fantasynational.com/Mayo. 20% off all of the golf tools over there. Golf heating up. And I'm up a ton of money on golf so far this season. So keep firing at it and go with it. Cam at Cam Stewart Live on Twitter. Rob at Rob Pizzola. The Forward Progress YouTube channel for all of the NFL content over at thehammer.bet and the Circles Off YouTube channel if you want a more mathematical breakdown and expansion on what Rob laid out about the 2-point conversion when you're down by 8 points. Thank you all for watching. Smash the like. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!